as the Birds take off for Detroit this weekend and try to stay very much in this pennant race. But we all know it's a purple world here this week, and the Buffalo Bills are in the way. And our old pal, Rex Ryan, bringing the Bills down with our old pal, Tyrod Taylor, as well as some other folks like Corey Graham that spent some time here in the organization. And we welcome on from Buffalo, a longtime Bill and a four-time Super Bowl competitor on the glory era of those Bills teams, and Ted Marchibroad and some other local friends as well. He's 10 years deep now into the Bills broadcast as their color commentator up there in Western New York. We welcome Mark Kelso back on to WNST to talk about the season opener. What's going on, Mark? Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year. But, I mean, it's exciting. I think everybody's excited to get the season started. I know there's been a lot of talk about the preseason and how long it is. And so I, for one, am glad that it's over. And although it's an important part of the preparation phase for the season, but I think all the players are ready to get teed up for real.
Well, no doubt about that, and certainly the Bills don't have a full complement. I mean, we know about injuries here last year that kind of took our season away, and this is a difficult thing for Rex. I mean, drafted players, the young studs he's trying to get on the field aren't there, and then other jurisprudence issues. It's been a rough couple of months for the Bills, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a lot of talent, actually, and I think they're much deeper than they were last year. I think they're second year into a Rex Ryan or Rob Ryan coach defense, so the communication level has been just light years ahead of where it was last year at this time. So they do have some issues, and I still don't know how the Aaron Williams situation is going to unfold with his injury, and Marcel Darius, of course, will miss the first 4 games, and Reggie Ragland is the one you're referring to that will miss the season because of the ACL tear, and then Shaq Lawson, he will be ready at some point through the season, but needed to have that shoulder repair that he came to the NFL with after his outstanding career at Clemson. And I think they have a lot of high hopes for him, but it's going to take him a few weeks once he gets back into the fold as well to really understand the position, because it was traditionally at Clemson, it was a defensive end position. In the NFL, it'll probably be like an outside linebacker position, and he may have to drop in coverage at times, which is something he's probably not as used to, but something that his athleticism will enable him to do.
Mark Kelso covering all things Bills as their color analyst, and obviously you come from the defensive side of the ball. And some thoughts about Rex coming in and taking over the program that had been left behind by several coaches and several executives, trying to switch the Schwartz defense over. There really were some personnel issues last year, right? Just guys that weren't great fits for this system.
Well, I mean, certainly there are certain guys that fit the system, and you see what he did in New York with the Jets when he was there, and the guys he drafted. He loves the draft defensive linemen, and then this year with the Dolphins, Washington, he loves to draft those guys that create disruptions up front, because then it frees your linebackers up to make a play. Last year was a bit of an anomaly. Again, they switched the defense from the 4-3, which they had played really with great excellence the prior year under Coach Schwartz, and Preston Brown, who had an outstanding rookie season, arguably could have been the rookie defensive player of the year, and I think it went to Richardson in New York. But Preston certainly had a year deserving of that and was probably high in the voting. But then he moved to Mike instead of a will linebacker, so he's playing in a little different position. Then you start to lose guys throughout the core of your defense. You lost Aaron Williams, you lost Kyle Williams. You got guys playing. You got Manny Lawson, who's traditionally an outside linebacker that plays outstanding on the line of scrimmage. And then he's playing off the line of scrimmage in a will linebacker situation. So it was a situation of unfamiliarity, a situation where there's some injuries to the core of the defensive unit, and then a change in terminology, and those 3 things added up to a really sub-poor performance last year for the Bills' defensive unit.
Well, we saw Tyrod go out and run around a lot in the preseason. I mean, Joe Flacco, no one was more standing upright, since Brett Favre than him in playing games and never missing playing time. And for Tyrod to go up there and do as well as he did, I can't say I'm shocked by that. I mean, I knew his pedigree coming out of Virginia Tech and saw the way he worked and how much the coaches liked him and wanted him around here. But, falling into a system there where he knew the coaches a little bit and got the ball and got a chance to play. You've been doing this a long time. There have been a lot of quarterbacks to come and go since Jim Kelly in your era. Make a case for Tyrod being a guy that's still going to be there 2, 3, 4 years from now, and a guy that clearly they've now given the money to that they believe in and they're going to build around.
Yeah, I think he has really taken over the leadership role this year. There's no question about it. There's no question of who's the leader of that offensive unit, and quite frankly, the whole team. I mean, Tyrod has accepted that role, and I think does an admirable job with it. I think there's a lot of skills that you need to be a really good quarterback in this league, and I mean, I think you need to be a quick decision maker. I think you need to. I mean, you need to be able to have obviously some velocity on your ball and some accuracy to throw that middle dig at about 15 to 17 yards, just inside or outside the hash. I think you need to understand how to move in the pocket subtly to create opportunities to throw the football. I think you've got to have accuracy. You've got to be able to throw the deep ball because you got to be able to stretch defenses, and you've got to have some improvisational skills. And if you put all those components together, you say you have an opportunity to be a good quarterback. And if you're a good decision maker, and he has demonstrated that he has all those tools, and certainly his lack of height causes some problems at times, as it does for any quarterback that's around 6 foot tall, and he's going to have some problems seeing over those offensive linemen. But he has an opportunity to use his legs to beat you. He's pretty improvisational. He has some subtle movements in the pocket that create additional time and space for him to throw the football. He has a real understanding of what's going on as well. So I think he's got a lot of key components that you need, and now it's just continuing to develop, continuing to see things so that they become instinctive to him, and he can react to them without thinking and be one step ahead of the play. And I think he's grown terrifically last year, put himself in harm's way a little bit, and hopefully will not do that this year. But certainly he would consider it a huge asset if he's able to escape at times when he gets himself in trouble, use his legs to beat you, and then just get down or get out of bounds.
Yeah, Rex and I did some radio together over the years. We've been friends, and I was friends with his father and did a television show with his father 20 years ago. And I know what the bravado and the bluster and the new sheriff in town and bring guys in. But the incognito thing last year and the kid punching out the quarterback in the Jets who winds up on your team the next day, he's not afraid of shaking things up. But I've had two people in Buffalo tell me Incognito was the best player on the Bills last year. And if you talk about sort of a reclamation project from a character standpoint and taking on someone who had a troubled past, without question, Rex is a big part of doing that in the same way that Buddy Ryan, till his dying day, talked about saving Chris Carter's life and putting him on a pathway to get to the Hall of Fame and being a cleaner football player. That second chances, and I know you saw it throughout your time in the league as well, where guys had other opportunities. Incognito was given that and apparently has taken that and really taken it seriously in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much interaction with Richie, but there's no question he was a model teammate last year and a model player, and I think he knew it was he was on a short leash, and again, yeah, I mean, unless you're in the locker room and you're in that situation that occurred down at Miami, you really don't know everything that happened and all the intricacies of that situation. So I hate to speculate on that, but he has been he's been a leader with the offensive line. He's been a mentor to young guys. He's done all the right things in Buffalo, no question about that. And you can say whatever you want about Rex. I have an opportunity to meet with Rex a lot as well, and have gotten to know him pretty well over the last 15 months and 18 months. And the one thing you can say about him is, number one, he's exceptionally enthusiastic. He's like a high school coach that never thinks his team is going to lose, and he always has a plan to defeat the opponent without question. He has a plan that week that's going to tweak from the traditional things that he normally does, and he's going to be able to beat the opponent. He always thinks he loves his guys, and he's never going to sell any of those guys out in the media or in public. I mean, he's going to do that behind closed doors if he doesn't think they're playing well, and he's going to be their cheerleader at the same time. I mean, he really enjoys coaching the game and enjoys being out there with those guys, and I think they appreciate that and embrace that. And I think once that permeates the whole locker room, and then you have the right leaders from a personnel perspective, like I said in Tyrod Taylor, then I think you have the opportunity to be a really good club.
Hey, Mark, you've been around there a long time, seen a lot of success there, and also the failures of the last decade before Rex came in. I would agree with you that the fact that there's noise around the Bills, to me, that's part of the reason of hiring Rex, is to get your fan base sort of worked up. But then there comes the point where you have to deliver. Make a case for them to win 10 or 11 games this year, Mark.
Well, they finished the season as the number one rushing team in the league last year at 152 yards. They've got room for improvement, certainly on the offensive side of the football, but they'll have much more continuity with the offensive line. I mean, I hope that Seantrell Henderson situation works itself out favorably for the Bills. That still remains to be seen. But Jordan Mills had significant playing time last year in Chantrell's absence, so that will go well if they can keep those guys healthy. John Miller was a rookie, and last year I don't think they could really pull anybody but Richie, and because he was the guy that could do it best, and John Miller was the young guy. Now they can run that same play both ways and get some real mileage out of that when they start to run to the edge. I mean, to me, it's that old, I don't know, from a football vernacular, they call it the old Bob A.O. So they pull the guard, and both guards, and they send the lead back, and they run wide like the Roger Craig San Francisco 49ers used to do. And then it's like a stretch play as well, so that as soon as that hole appears, LaShawn McCoy or whoever's running the ball at that particular time, and obviously more often than not it's going to be McCoy, and he has an opportunity to pick the hole wherever the hole develops. So I think you have more opportunities offensively to do that. I think Sammy Watkins is matured tremendously. I think Robert Woods is an outstanding blocker at the receiver position and can play that slot really well. I think Marquise Goodwin has started to emerge, and if he gets going and he escapes the line of scrimmage, I mean, he's going to be able to stretch you vertically, which gives you more opportunity in the intermediate game. Charles Clay was used well last year, but not nearly to the capabilities I think he can be used, and he'll play a much bigger role this year. And he's a difference maker, and I would say he's one of the best top 5 tight ends in the league. So I think they have great opportunities there, and then defensively, they've got a good core. They've got 2 outstanding corners. Stephon Gilmore, some people say he's a top 5 guy, top 7 guy, but he's in the conversation, no question. And then Ronald Darby had a great rookie campaign. If he can build upon that, he's just going to continue to get better. So now you can bring the pressure that Rex and Rob are accustomed to, and are the things that they favor in a game situation where they like the trap coverage and combo coverage and play these play zero coverages when they're bringing all kinds of people and people that you don't expect, and they're going to force the ball out of that quarterback's hand really early. So, like any team, if they can stay healthy, I think that the offseason was favorable to them. I think they signed some good guys. They've got the core of their guys back, and the communication level's much better. I think they've improved on areas, at least in the preseason, that they needed improvement in the red area and third down, and let's see if those things can be consistent throughout the course of the year. And if that's the case, then I do think they have an opportunity to win 10 games. And you can't talk about their schedule. Schedule's hard. Everybody's schedule's hard. So you got to win the tough games at home, and you got to win most of them, and you got to split on the road. And if you can do those things, then you have an opportunity to win 10 games.
Mark Kelso, longtime Bill, who is the color analyst now for the Buffalo Bills in his 11th season up there in Western New York. And who's the best player on the Bills? If I were to say, just if you had to take one of these guys and start a team, who's your guy?
I mean, it's hard to say, and I think they have a bunch. I mean, I'd put a collection. I'm more of a leadership model guy,
Sure.
King Arthur's Roundtable. So I think they have a bunch of guys that are playing at a high level and can really play at a high level. And it would probably not be prudent to me to pick one guy over another guy, but I think they have talent. They have talent at the running back. They've got one of the young dynamic receivers in the game. Tyrod has I think a lot of growth. The offensive line has players on it, a Pro Bowl caliber defensively. I mean, I could go through the whole list. I mean, I'm not going to pick one guy, but I think Kyle Williams has played at a Pro Bowl level for many years, and his career is getting longer now, but I still think he can play really well. They've got some good young guys inside. Preston Brown continues to impress the corners. They've got strength everywhere. That's the thing. If they play as a unit, if they don't get ahead of themselves, if they think the game throughout the course of the game, if they think the play prior to the play actually occurring and just play the down during the play, and use their instinctiveness and use the knowledge that they've garnered through the course of the week through film study, I think they have an opportunity to play really good football and give themselves a chance to win an awful lot of games. And then you got to stay together because you're going to have adversity, and how are you going to handle the adversity? If you handle it well, then your season can stay on track, and if you handle it poorly, it can get derailed. So let's just see how it unfolds, and that's the beauty of the NFL. There's only 16 games, and you got to win 10 or 11 of them if you want to make the playoffs. So that's why it's such an interesting game, because every game is so important.
Let's get the party started. Week 1 of the NFL. The Buffalo Bills coming to town. My thanks to Mark Kelso for joining us. Give our best to Corey Graham up there, and Tyrod and Rex. We'll all be enemies on Sunday, but we got a lot of rings floating around with those fellas here in Baltimore and coming back. So a little bit of a homecoming, and certainly you bring your chicken wings, we'll bring our crab cakes. We'll see how we figure it out on Sunday. Great having you on, Mark.
Yeah, that'd be beautiful. I will do that.
Appreciate it, man. Anything that ends with chicken wings and crab cakes can't be such a bad thing. And Rex doesn't eat vegetables. I know this. I've dined with Rex before. My thanks to Mark Kelso for joining us here. A long-time Bill, and played on all 4 of those Super Bowl teams back in the days of the K-Gun and Jim Kelly and Ted Marchbrode and Marv Levy and Thurman Thomas and so many Hall of Famers there. Bruce Smith, all those guys. Great to have him on as well. Now, 11 years as the color commentator on WGRF 96.9. Up in Buffalo, and the Bills coming to town this week. Of course, we'll be monitoring all things on the backfields of Owings Mills. Any breaking news will come to you first on the WNST tech service. That is powered up by our friends at Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here on Thursday, driving you home, getting you ready for the kickoff game as well. And don't forget, the morning newspaper reaches your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. And anything you miss here is readily available, one click away, anywhere you are in the world on the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault. That is an easy ask, as well as downloading that TuneIn Radio app. You can listen live from anywhere in the world as well via the buyatoyota.com Audio Vault. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.